Awfully quiet tonight.
No, you didn't. You just did not do that.
You're seeing cars with me, accidents. You're ready to go
Welcome to Black and Blue, the podcast that brings you the untold stories behind the badge. Every week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we dive deep into the lives of our unsung heroes, the first responders and law enforcement officers who put their lives on the line to protect us all. So join us as we humanize the badge. We shed light on the incredible individuals who wear it proudly. From rookies just starting out on their journey to seasoned vets with years of experience, even retirees who continue to make a difference in their communities. Come with us and discover the trainings that mold us. The unforgettable experiences that make us. And the publications that inspire us to push forward. So buckle up and get ready to embark on a thrilling journey through the lives of those who protect and serve. This is the Heartbeat, Black and Blue. Black and Blue, where the stories behind the badge are true. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to another episode of Black and Blue. Thank you guys for tuning in. We got special guests in the back, and this is the first time we've done a panel like this, so I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. But I'm your host. I am Coach Clee. I'm your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker's favorite baker, Coach Clee, coming at you. And I'm bringing forward another exciting episode of Black and Blue, where we go live weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And when we go live with someone who's in the law enforcement community or a first responder. And we go live about their trainings, their experiences, and their publications. And when we do, it doesn't matter whether they're rookie, seasoned, or retiree, we bring them on the stage and we go ahead and dive into that thing. Today, we're going to be talking about a specific topic and have generated questions on police and leadership and the leadership within police itself. So we're going to be looking forward to chiming in on that. This is a live broadcast podcast, okay? So we're streaming on 5 different platforms. We're on 2 on Facebook. We're on 2 on YouTube, and we're on 1 on LinkedIn. And yes, this is also going to be uploaded on Spotify as well. So make sure you guys, if you're not already subscribed, tag, like, share, subscribe, let your friends know, because this is good information that we're putting out here. Make sure you guys subscribe to those pages as well, so we can keep this good thing going. Like I said, this is live. So since this is live, I can't see who's in here, all right? But your questions, if you have a question, make sure you put it in the comment section, and we'll get to it accordingly, all right? It's about a 5 to 10 second delay. So by the time that you post it and we see it, we'll acknowledge it, but we might be on to another topic. If you're just looking for the shout out, like Greg Foster did, he's talking about good evening, make sure you put that in the comment section as well, and we'll make sure we highlight that, all right? Like I said, since we're on 5 different platforms, I can't see who's all on here, so make sure you guys tag, like, share, hit that like button too, so we can hit that algorithm. We hit that algorithm, that this information is put out there very quickly, very fun, and it's gonna be we're gonna have a good show today. I'm excited. Like I said before, I'm very excited. I got 2 great guys backstage. Neither one of them are strangers to this platform. They've both been on here 2 different times, twice, I'm sorry, each. each time when they were on here. They drawn good conversation. They're very easy to talk to. If you have a question for them, they're very easy to respond back to. All right. Again, like I said, I'm your host. I'm Coach Clee. You can find me on Facebook under Coach Clee, Clark Tent, Clee Tillman, the coldest. So many different names. I got so many different acronyms. I was even told that Clee, CLEE, stands for Continuing Law Enforcement Edutainment. And we continue that edutainment along with this podcast and Sergeant Be Safe. Sergeant Be Safe is the cartoon that you saw at the beginning of this podcast here. The cartoon crime-fighting cop who has solutions. He's also got, let me get this up here before I forget. Where's the banner at? He's got 2 ebooks that we were able to get done within the past couple weeks. Sergeant Be Safe and the Phone Scammers, and Sergeant Be Safe and Captain Chaos and Super Crime Buster, and he applauds them. Those are on Amazon, so make sure you guys check those out. But this platform is sponsored by One Way Publishing. One Way Publishing is the producers of those 2 ebooks and this podcast, along with the 5 books that I wrote that you see behind me, and they have other clients that have done the same thing. Workwithclee.com is a website. Let me get this banner up here. I got a whole bunch of things going on at the same time. This is the website that you want to do for One Way Publishing. One Way Publishing's motto is if you ever had a mere thought, they can turn it into a book that's bought. So if you just had an idea, if you wanted to write a fiction, nonfiction children's book, cookbook, whatever it may be, One Way Publishing is the way to get that thing done. If you want to be a voiceover for Sergeant Be Safe, workwithclee.com is the way to get that thing done as well. If you want to be a guest on this platform, workwithclee.com. Some of the latest things that One Way Publishing has put out. Let's see if I can get these banners up here right. Some of the latest things is Kay Childs was able to get her first poetry book done. She was sitting on it for over 20 years, and she came to One Way Publishing when she was able to get her poetry book, and that's on Amazon as well. It came out right before Christmas, so it made a great stocking stuffer. So make sure you guys check that out. Also, Shayla Thompson and Sophia Thompson were able to do the mother and daughter dynamic duo collaboration children's book, To Be So Tall. And their story is very interesting. They've been doing book signings at schools and churches lately, and it's hitting like a wildfire. That's also available on Amazon as well. So make sure you guys check all that out. All right. I think I covered all bases. I think I'm done grifting for a little while. Wanted to make sure I got the intro in a timely manner. Make sure you guys get your comments in. Like I said, we got 2 special guests back here. Both they're no stranger to the platform. We're going to talk about conversation in law enforcement, the law enforcement community involving police and leadership. One of them has been on the show before. He's no stranger. He's got over 10 years of executive experience in private security. He's the CEO of the Black Sanctuary. He's also the author of his own children's book, The Police and Me, which we had featured on this show as well on various platforms. And he's a former guest. Has been on here 2 times at least. So here's a quick video. We're not going to take up too much time, but just to give you guys to reintroduce you guys back to Derrick Dotson. Stand by.
Police shootings in the media. It can be very frustrating. Why? Because a lot of times when we receive our law enforcement education, it comes from the news media, television shows, and most often the movies. You're going to watch this video, this incident, and you're going to filter it through your own experiences, your knowledge, your expectations for police. And a lot of times it's going to be inaccurate. I want you to be able to watch these videos and look at these police-involved shootings and understand what occurred by understanding use of force and deadly force criteria.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Reading 3.
All right, and that was you guys can watch the entire video on the previous podcast that we did. But that's a quick intro with Derrick Dotson. Also, our other guest, we have Michael Laidler. I'm sorry about that. Michael has been 18 years of law enforcement in the community. He's also a world public speaker where he speaks on leadership. He's an expert in leadership as well. He's been on the show 2 times as well, and he's the author of Greatness Beyond the Badge. And we discussed his book and what he does on the show as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I got a quick video of him as well to reintroduce you back to who he is and what he's doing, and we're gonna jump right into it.
One thing I want people to understand is that each of us have a role in helping each other out. We talk about our brothers and sisters, our family, and law enforcement. As a leader, this is your chance to actually prove it. I don't want to just hear us talk about getting better. I don't want to just hear us saying that we're going to grow our staff or the people around us. I want to see us executing in a way of recognizing what's going on, recognizing behaviors that may be overlooked, intervening by actually addressing it, providing feedback, and then finally coaching people, helping them build up, helping them maintain that confidence, helping them find that answer to get to these mental wellness programs, because as leaders, it is our responsibility to help the people that we love get to where they need to be.
Absolutely.
There we go. And that's a quick reintroduction of Michael here. I'm going to bring Derrick to the stage so he can give us a quick rundown of who he is again. Derrick, are you there?
I am here, brother. How you doing? Thank you.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you for making yourself available, coming on the show. I know you got the video, you got the children's book, you've been on here before. Can you give us a quick rundown in your own words on things that you've got going on right now and things that you're preparing to do in the future?
I thought you said you wanted me to be quick because there's a lot coming up.
I know.
Well, thanks again for having me on. My name is Derrick Dotson. I am the founder and CEO of the Black Sanctuary. The Black Sanctuary is an education and an empowerment platform that's created to teach all American citizens, but particularly focused on the Black and Brown community, on how to interact with police safely based on all of the things that we saw in the last few years with a lot of the division and throughout the country between communities and law enforcement. I wrote my children's book called The Police and Me to address the youngest citizens in our country to make sure that, we're securing our future. We want to make sure that, regardless of how we feel as adults, we're very biased sometimes, but I want to make sure that these kids start looking at these things in the most objective way possible. Let them learn the right ways to go about doing things. And hopefully when they become citizens and drivers and property owners and tax-paying citizens, and maybe even law enforcement officers one day, they have had the proper introduction to what this interaction and what we could create together as a community and as citizens of this country.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I know we're going to have a great discussion on those topics and the topic at hand. I'm going to bring Michael to the stage now. Michael, are you there?
I'm here and ready to go.
Oh, perfect. Hey, thank you for making yourself available as well. Can you give us a brief introduction about yourself and things that you've got going on?
Well, it's the usual hustle and grind that I have going on. Getting ready for another busy speaking season. April's actually the start of it. I spoke in January and February, but this is when it really hits the ground running. A little bit about me: law enforcement for nearly 2 decades. That consists of Border Patrol, police officer, federal corrections. And over that time, looking at my time in law enforcement and my time prior to law enforcement, I realized that we were lacking self-awareness. I was lacking self-awareness. And I started to create programs like Greatness Beyond the Badge, as you showed with my book earlier, to help us address these things, because in law enforcement, it's not easy. And 9 times out of 10, any agency you're working for, they're going to focus on their rules, their policies, and what they need to get done, and not you. So for me, I wanted to shift that a little bit. I wanted people to start focusing on themselves, whether they're a cadet in the academy or they're the police chief or sheriff. It didn't matter to me, because everybody kind of loses themselves. And when you do, you got to kind of know how to bring that back. So for me, that's what I've been building. That's what I've been working on. And I can tell you, with the momentum that I've been gaining, especially with guys like Clee and Derrick out there, I mean, it's exciting. I'm ready for it.
Absolutely. Thank you for making yourself available. Thank you both. I got Seti P on here. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Tillman. Good evening to you too, sir. Thank you. Hey, you guys both have been on this platform before. Michael, I got to meet you face to face in Philly. Derrick, we talk on the phone often. We haven't got the opportunity to meet physically face to face. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, these are 2 great guys. Both of their websites are scrolling below, and they're in the comment section as well. So make sure you guys check those things out, okay? But I'm gonna ask you both. Just so we're not talking over each other, I'll have Derrick you answer first, and I'll have Michael you follow up with the changes in the culture with law enforcement. with leadership on down. We talk about it often, but now it's starting to come to the forefront. We're a couple years past COVID. We're a couple years past some of the controversial things, the major controversial things that have hit the news media. But what are some of the things that you see with law enforcement experience and that you see out here in the public or engaging with anyone who's a first responder of some things that are blaringly positive and or negative with the leadership that's in law enforcement? Derrick?
That's a great question and a great way to start this off, just because I think, where I have been interacting with a lot of private citizens, not just in the local community. I live in Washington State. It's not just here, but across the entire country, where I've been able to talk to people and get that feedback. When it comes down to how they feel about law enforcement and a lot of the leadership, and even when they don't speak directly about the leadership, they're talking about cops, and they're like, "Well, how I feel about cops," and their interaction, their experience with them. A lot of that also comes from the culture that's created in those particular departments. And so when you have those types of situations where someone is having a negative experience or something like that, or they've had an experience that they really can't explain, why they feel the way they feel about it. But at the same time, a lot of that also comes from the leadership and how how they influence their officers to interact with the to interact with the public. A lot of times, as it's you might have a certain type of training, but a lot of it is just, this is how we do things here, right? As opposed to this is these are the best ways we can connect with our community, and not even just the entire community, because hey, this part of the community or this part of town is going to be like this or that type of thing. And I don't think that type of conversation is happening a lot. So positive, the positive things that I've been able to deal with, like a lot of different police chiefs and different police people in police command. They are eager to want to connect with their communities. I think a lot of it is right now, though, and I'm glad that they bring me in for these types of things. For instance, to connect with certain parts of the community that otherwise may not be responsive when they initially reach out, because a lot of people, even when a chief turns up or someone turns up and they're like, "Hey, we want to connect with you," they're like, "Yeah, we're good. No, we don't want any of that." And so, and I want to be that person that built that bridge, and they reached out for that type of thing. And so I think, for law enforcement, in summary, yes, I think the leadership has stepped out to be able to do some positive things. But at the same time, I think there needs to be a better communication and how they communicate with people, with the people that they serve. At the end of the day, we're talking about public servants, right? So we have to be able to talk about how you communicate that.
Right. Absolutely. Good answer to that question. Thank you. Michael, I'm gonna ask you the same question. Some positive, negatives, takeaways that you've seen in the community. Again, we kind of post a few years of COVID, post of major incidents in media. Not to say things haven't happened since, but what are some positive and negative things that you've seen and or could share with us?
On the positive side is that the community wants to believe in us. They want to establish that relationship, like what Derrick was talking about a moment ago. They want that. They are driving for that. They're passionate about that. They want to be able to trust us walking through the grocery store. They want to be able to trust when an officer walks on the scene, he or she can help them with their issue. So the pro is that community wants it, because like you two, I have friends, family, and I hear the request, the suggestions, but then I hear some of the negative things. And I think that boils down to what's been centuries of an issue that we've had in law enforcement and society in general, is that's communication, which Derrick touched on. I think when it comes to leadership, we make an assumption that people know how to communicate. And I think that's where we failed our leaders, because we assume that, for example, a chief of police, he or she knows how to make that connection. We just assume because they're in that position that they're a good communicator. Maybe they just got lucky and applied at the right time, and they came with the idea that, maybe this person was a police commander for LA Sheriff's Office. Of course they could be the chief of police and Beaumont, Texas. That's a tenth of a size. However, that level of communication isn't trained enough at all levels.
Right.
And I think as we look at how to make that bridge, that connection with people like Derrick, because that's not really my speed. My speed is more directed towards the officer, the person in the uniform, because to me, if I can teach them how to believe in themselves, then everything else they train themselves on, like communication, will come with it. So when it comes to pros and cons, the pros definitely outweigh the cons, but until we have that consistent, and I really mean consistent amount of communication training at all levels, we're always going to have that gap. We're always going to have that, oh, I can't believe he said that to me or she did that to me, because we know communication can be, if not treated or taught correctly, we know that it could definitely be misinterpreted.
Yes, absolutely. And giving a shout out real quick, Merv Gardner, thank you for coming in here. Favorite officer, what up, Merv? Dick Odom's in here. Yes, poor leadership is daunting to our society. Absolutely. Tom Lyman, correct. I'm sorry if I said that incorrectly. Keep building that bridge, brother. Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we talked about, we love it. The communication, exactly. Communication training. Yes. And going along with communication is actually following up to my next question. Communication, being able to communicate means being able to articulate yourself effectively to get your point across to where it's understood on all levels. How well do you think that goes with active listening? And how important is active listening in a leadership position? Derrick, I'll go
with that. Oh,
Yep.
Okay. No, I think that is one of the things that we tend to, and I think that's something that we all struggle with, right? Even when we're in the midst of conversation, no matter who we're talking to, usually when it's someone that we tend to know very well, we're kind of thinking about what they're about to say, and so we're already thinking what we're about to say instead of thinking about what the person's actually trying to say, and even when what they're saying and what they're trying to say, even in the sense that we're not, I think, even one of the things that I'd be interested to hear what Michael has to say about this, as far as just the empathy side of it, right? Like, how is this person communicating to a point where I really want to understand their message so I can effectively respond to that. And, in leadership, that is a very big thing. And in just, I can think of so many times throughout my life in different jobs, not just law enforcement, even in security, and where you've dealt with, managers who, they think that by raising their voice or when they cut you off when you're talking and just assume that they know what they're talking about. I had a doctor do that before, and I'll never forget it because it was very disturbing. I was explaining something that I was dealing with, and he just cut me off and went to his next question. But I would quit very quick to say, "Excuse me, let me finish what I'm saying." Most people won't do that, and so a lot of times when leaders do that, you don't get heard. And when you don't get heard, you don't feel seen. And then that, you feel devalued in so many different ways. And I think overall, and if you're not now as a leader, it's not just that one person you're doing that to. How many other people are you having those types of interactions with throughout the day, every day, weeks at a time? And then when we talk about culture, specifically, we're talking about law enforcement. That officer now is, not feeling seen, not feeling heard, now goes back out on the street, and now they have to deal with all the complexity that comes with with being an officer. That can be detrimental. And so I think, being able to take the time to hear what someone is saying to you, especially, when, you're a chief, not even just the chief, but, anybody in police command where someone is looking to you for an answer or for direction or for guidance, to be able to hear them effectively and be able to think about it, even if you don't have the answer right then, but to take time to say, you know what, let me get back to you on that. Or let me find out who this person is that can, the right person that can help you with this. Because, hey, like you said, just because they're a chief or they're in police command, could have been right time, right place, but it doesn't mean that they're great at everything. And so I think there can be some improvement there. But when we are lacking in a place like that, it not only just affects that one particular officer, you're talking about how many people you might be affecting that way. And then it, in turn, it affects the community.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good answer. I know one of my pet peeves is still working. And when I'm hitting the street, whether it's in-house or out-house, on the road or dealing with the public or anyone, is getting cut off mid-sentence when I'm explaining something. If I'm explaining, you ask me a question, I'm explaining it, or if I'm asking a question directly to you, and like you said, you think you know the answer, and you don't, because I'm throwing in something, a caveat. And I always, now that I recognize it, before I would just take it as a younger officer, now at the level I'm at, the experience that I have now, I stop and re-interrupt. I'm like, excuse me, please let me finish my statement, and then you can ask your question or you can make your point as well. But I'll probably explain what you're about to ask me if I can finish my statement. It's one thing. Yeah. Michael, I'm sorry. About active listening. How important is that with communication?
It's very important. Before I get into that, didn't you get a promotion recently? You talking about being on the road? I didn't think you were still on the road, man. What you talking about? Why are you lying to the listeners? You trying to act like you on the road? So didn't you get a promotion? Active listening. So now I'm gonna get into it. Now I'm going. See, with listening, you gotta have 2 ears, 1 mouth. I was raised in a house full of women, so I know how to listen, and I listen to things. I pay attention. So, Clee, when you say these things, you don't think Derrick and I are listening to what you're saying, but we truly are. When it comes to listening, it is so. You have to have patience. That's the crazy part. Whenever you're a leader or dealing with community, whoever you're dealing with, your subordinates, you're dealing with your spouse, I think it comes down to patience. And you have to be very clear with people if you have the time or not. If you tell someone you can listen to them, you need to be serious. Or you need to say, hey, I have 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes. That doesn't mean 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 42 minutes. I have this much time to listen to you. So if your story is going to be more than 5 minutes or your issue, can we, like Derrick said, can we table this and can we come back to this conversation later? So I think when it comes to listening, you have to know what you're capable of because not all of us are good listeners, and understand that if you are in a rush or you're not good at listening, you tell the person that. Be honest. No point to lie, because if you're really trying to help somebody with their problem and you're honest at the gate, like, hey, I have a short attention span. If you can't tell me this story in 2 minutes, I can't help you. I mean, it takes some self-awareness to know that stuff. But for me, I found that when I don't have time to talk to somebody, I let them know, like, hey, I know you have something going on and I understand it's very important to you. However, I only have this amount of time. If you believe it's going to take that much time, please, let's talk about this later. If not, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be disrespectful, but this is what it is. And if you do have the all day to listen, then just don't say listen to them. But you're right. You have to be engaged. You have to be paraphrasing. You have to be truly paying attention to what they're saying, because when people are in need, whatever it might be, even if it's not important to you, it's important enough to them for them to tell you. So listening, especially active listening, like when someone gets a promotion and says they're still on the road, is extremely important.
Hey, before you totally call me out like that, I did get a promotion. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I got promoted to the rank of detective very recently. Thank you. However, I still am on the road because it hasn't, the date of affection hasn't taken place yet. So I haven't been untruthful. I'm still being truthful.
Hey, Derrick, you better tell them, once you heard you got a promotion, your mind's already in the division already. Your brain's been there to make that post. Since you know what?
You already gone.
They told you were selected. Your mind you already picked out your office. You picked out the phone you're going to put up of yourself. You're going to try to figure things out. Like, your mind's already in that office.
He already cleaned that desk. It's already shining.
Hey, the card's already at the
pledge and everything.
He goes by once a day to make sure it's still there.
I already moved into the office, though.
See, we know.
See? Hey, look, I want to add something real quick to what Michael was saying. You know what? A mistake that I tend to still make, and I think I made this about a week ago with an old friend. When I am taking time to listen to someone, and the way that we both answered your question, we were talking about how we respond. Well, sometimes I automatically jump to I get to the point that I think that you need a solution from me. That's not always the case. Sometimes somebody just wants to be heard.
Yes.
Now,
yeah.
But I'm very careful with that because I don't want to be, I don't want you eating up my time with your venting, right? And I'm very quick to be like, hey, look, now I'm a solution-based person because if you came to me to vent, I'm not the right person to hear that. I'm sorry, And so, and there's somebody else that's going to be there for that. And I remember even dealing with that with my wife. Is sometimes I would jump to she would tell me what was going on, and I would say, well, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, hold on. I just wanted to talk about this. I didn't need a solution from you. And I'm like, oh, well, and so I think that's also very important as you're listening to and I think what I tend to call it is, well, here's my unsolicited advice is something I tend to say, because you came to me with it. You done took up my time, so I'm going to tell you, what this is. And so, but the point but even to be able to do that effectively is to let that person be able to do things and to explain themselves. But even asking the right type of follow-up questions, and when it comes down to leadership, I think it's incredibly critical to be able to do that, and not just. Even with doctors, again, I'll go back to it. I've had a lot of surgeries, orthopedic surgeries. I've had over 15 orthopedic surgeries throughout my life. Okay. And I remember, again, having doctors that weren't very good, but the guy that has done my last few orthopedic surgeries, I'll never forget one morning, I was really cloudy, the next morning in the hospital. I couldn't really think straight. And I knew that his time is short, right? And I was respecting his time. And so he said, he stood there and he was talking to me, and he asked me a question. I went to respond, and I couldn't think of it. And I said, Doc, just come back later. And he said, no, I'll wait. I'll never forget that because, I was like, oh, he really wants to answer my question. Yes. And he thought about that. And I'm not the guy that runs on Yelp or whatever just to complain or things like that. But I actually wrote that. I wrote that up about him because I was like, I appreciate when someone does that. So when you're a leader or you're someone that people are counting on for that type of feedback, that can be very critical in being able to do that. And again, and it goes such a long way to a point that was years ago, and here we are talking about that.
Yeah, very memorable for you.
Absolutely.
Got a couple comments on the floor. Dick Odom, George Bernard Shaw said the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Absolutely. Tom Lyman, yes, sir. Active listening combined with truly caring for each other. Yep. Dale Peters, former guest on the show. Great discussion, gents. Dick Odom again. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Dale Peters again. What did you say, Michael? It was longer than 2 minutes. LOL.
That was. Good job, Dale. I like that.
Merv Gardner, congrats. Thank you, my friend. Matt Bloodgood, former guest on the show. Congratulations on the promotion. Thank you. This is Michael was able to put that information out there.
Always squeeze something in there.
I know. I love it too. You got to stay on your toes with Michael, man. You really do.
I do a lot of listening. Apparently, I listen. I try to listen as much as I can.
Very actively. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going to pause for the calls because Sergeant Be Safe has something to say for us real quick, and we're going to jump right back into this interview. So those of you that are still watching, those of you that are coming on, make sure you guys get your questions ready. We're going to jump right back into it. Stand by.
What up, Jackson? Let's get these bikes and join up with the crew.
All right, I want to try some stunts.
Cool. I got the camera. I'll record you as you zig and zag through traffic.
Okay, I'm ready to go whenever you are.
Hey fellas, I hope you don't plan on riding those dirt bikes on the street. That's illegal activity. You guys don't have the proper gear to ride. The bikes also need inspected, insurance, and registration.
Oh, I didn't know we needed all that.
You guys don't have a driver's license either. Sorry, fellas.
Everyone else does it.
Bad decision.
So, is there a place where we can go ride them legally?
That's a great question. Yes, there are. In some states, there's designated areas like tracks or dirt roads where you can ride them. Riding them on the public road is not acceptable, especially when there's careless disregard for other people and traffic and property. You can get hurt or you can injure someone else just for being a thrill seeker. Not only that, it's illegal and you could face a ton of fines.
Thanks for letting us know. We weren't trying to get in any trouble.
I'm just glad we were able to help before things got bad.
Remember, fellas, this summer's gonna be hot, so let's make it an enjoyable one. And let's not get in any trouble thrill seeking while riding these dirt bikes and quad runners. Captain Chaos and I are here to help, and that's your tip of the day. Get you on your way.
And shout out to Certain Be Safe, and shout out to those voiceovers. If you recognize them, give them a high five if you see them, or tell them congratulations. They don't want the accolades, so I told them I'm not going to call them out on the show, but some of you guys may recognize some of their voices, and they do a tremendous job, and I appreciate them. And Dale Peters, thank you. Congratulations on the promo. I appreciate you as well, too. Make sure you guys check out his podcast. His podcast is Black in Blue, and he's over on the West Coast. He was on the show as well, and he's got a great platform as well. And he's putting good information out there. I'm just trying to keep up with him. Yeah, go ahead.
To add to that, man, if y'all never seen or been on Dale Peters' podcast, he was one of the most challenging podcasts on there because he literally gave me a questionnaire during the podcast. I was like, I didn't think I had to know all this stuff. I was like, Dale, you got me. You got me on this one.
Challenge you right there on the spot.
On the spot.
Yes. And welcome back.
Sounds like my kind of guy. I like that kind of
Oh, yeah. Hey, Derrick, get with Dale over there in California. Oh, he's good. He's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Good bunch of guys telling you. I had him on the show. When was it? January, February, I believe it was. We had a great interaction as well. Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, those of you that are just now tuning in and that stuck around for the quick commercial break, talking about police and leadership, and it kind of evolving from the conversation that we just talked about with communication and active listening. Along with that, Derrick, you gave the perfect segue when you were talking about the doctor that was very memorable for you and that you gave a good review for because they actually took the time to engage with you and they were listening to you and they were actively listening. And that shows a different kind of leadership style. What kind of leadership style do you think will be engaging for the public? Michael, I'm going to ask you first since I asked Derrick the first two. What kind of police styles do you think would be engaging to the public and police interactions? And what kind of policing style do you think is best from like a police chief or a supervisor to a newer officer, a subordinate officer, or someone, officer that's just now actually coming up above the ranks, up and comer?
That question is kind of hard to answer, only in a sense of it depends on what you want out of your leader, because depending on the size of your agency will dictate the type of leadership they have. Because one of the styles that we all like is management by walking around, that old Lincoln on leadership concept that says that you should be on the ground with your troops. But what if you work at an agency that has 18,000 officers? Can you realistically do that and do your administrative role? So it depends on the level you're at, the size of your agency, but management by walking around, being out there, talking, communicating is the best. And when I look at someone that can do that effectively, sometimes I say, well, how's your paperwork? Or how often do you go home? Because if you're trying to cover every shift by walking around, or you're out of your office all the time, meeting your officers and doing ride-alongs, if you do that a lot, who's doing your paperwork? Now, if you have a good deputy chief or a good undersheriff, then it's easy, right? or a good administrator, whatever that might be.
Right.
But to me, that leadership style that most people prefer, and which I like to do myself when I can, is management by walking around. That kind of, I'm on the ground, I'm with the troops, they know me, I know their kids' allergies. Those are typically the best, but
very
realistically, the personal ones, the realistically depends on the size. I mean, the bigger you go, you're not, I can't expect the sheriff of LA to know 18,000 people.
Right.
Can we really? And then when I hear someone say, "Oh, he doesn't know me," of course I don't know you. You're one out of 18,000 that I'm supposed to know. So for me, and I don't know what you guys think about it. I know, Derrick, you spent time in a lot of executive leadership. It's tough to be everywhere, but if you can be somewhere, it is that management by walking around is my style that I think is the most beneficial for policing when it comes to connection.
Right. So boots on the road, boots in the field is basically getting very personal with the individuals that you're working with, guys and gals. Yes. Gotcha. And Derrick, I'm gonna shift that same question over to you. Leadership styles. What do you think leadership styles best effectively work for the community or within the law enforcement or first responder culture?
I'll start quickly with because I'd like to focus on the community, but I would say quickly with the leadership within the agency. I think there's a lot of things that I think anyone in those types of positions can do that would be very effective. But I think nothing to me stands out more than leading by example. It's really easy to tell people what they need to do and how they should show up. But when you don't do that, it's glaring, right? And again, I've been, even as a law enforcement, deadly force instructor, use of force instructor, deadly force instructor. I remember even, for instance, I was big on having, so I was a lead instructor. So I was the instructor that instructed the instructors, et cetera, right? And I was big on people, if you're going to demonstrate, if you're going to tell someone how to do something, demonstrate it, right? And if you messed up the demonstration, use that as a learning, a teaching moment, right? So if I'm saying, hey, put 2 center mass and one between the eyes, right? T-zone, we should say. Well, and you miss it, and not only do you just it maybe is low, but no, you miss altogether. There's a reason why. Don't ignore it. Everybody sees the hole in the paper that's not supposed to be there, right? And so we're all staring at it. My thing is like, hey, why did you throw that shot? Okay. That's a great moment for integrity and just following up and saying, you know what? I threw that round because maybe make up a reason. I don't know, but I'm usually pretty good at that type of thing. So I'll say, hey, you know what? I might have not been looking. I might have not been looking at my front sight in between the trigger, in between the trigger press, blah blah blah, that type of thing. I'm going to point it out. Show up in that type of way where and that's just one little example. But if you're going to do something, and you're going to tell people how they should be doing something. Now, a chief or a commander, captain, they're going to have a different type of role that people are going to see from maybe patrol. But the point is that how you do your job, how you communicate, the way that you interact with people at work, that type of thing. Make sure that type of thing is consistent. If I'm telling, hey, you need to prioritize working out. Are you showing up to work out? Those types of things. And I think that's a big deal. When it comes to interacting with the public, that's something I hear a lot about. And I think one of the things that everyone, and this is, of course, from, police leadership all the way to no matter what position you're in, is taking the time to explain things to people as much as you can, because a lot of times, especially when you're patrolling, you're on calls, you have a limited amount of time, that type of thing. But if you can take a little bit of time to explain certain things or educate, I think that goes a long way. One of the things that, and another reason why I founded the Black Sanctuary was because when so many things were happening in 2020 and 21, a lot of high-profile police shootings, And I had folks calling me from across the country, friends, family, etc. Why is this happening? And what are they doing to us? That type of thing. And when I would take time to explain to them, like for instance, like if I'm talking to black folks, they're like, "Oh, why is this happening to us? Why are they?" I'm like, "Well, it's not just a race thing. Let me explain." "What do you mean?" "Well, let me explain to you how these things work. Let me explain to you what use of force looks like, what the use of force model is, or that type of thing." Now, you don't always have time to do that, but when you take time, or maybe you make a block of time, whether it's a Citizens Academy, it's some type of training that you offer to your community, or you have, maybe however you want to set that up within your agency, the education that you give people will go a long way. Because I tell you, one of the cool things that I experienced was having people call me. Unfortunately, after the next incident happened, because multiple things happened, and then someone called and they would say, "Hey, I saw that thing that happened between the police officer and that guy. I don't like what that police officer did, but based on what you said about the whole use of force thing, that guy shouldn't have been doing that thing either." And I'm like, "Oh, you heard me, right? You understood." And so people want to know. And otherwise, what are we relating? We're relying on what is it? CSI Miami and NYPD Blue and Bad Boys. Bad Boys, the first two, not the last one. That last one was garbage. But the first two were hot. But we're talking about that. Lethal Weapon. I'm dating myself a little bit now, but I mean, that's where they get it from. Right? And that's all television. That's writing. It's not real. And so when you have someone that is going to take time to explain to people and educate the people that you serve, okay, and that now they understand more about what police do. And that's why I enjoy talking to kids, because kids are very inquisitive and they'll ask very direct questions. The older we get, as adults, we start getting a little bit more biased, and we get stuck in our certain beliefs and that type of thing. But when we take time to, and even when it's not just so much my opinion, I don't want to show that. I'll break out like, "Hey, here's the statute for this. See how this works?" Or "This is where you can look it up." I don't want to keep talking too much, but there's a lot of people that I've dealt with where I can show them, "Hey, here's the statute, here's a code, this is what the law says for this." And, there's no debate there. It's like, "Hey, this is what's written, whether you like it or not." And if you don't like it, guess what? That's something that you should work on changing. Let's not jump on social media and start ranting and raving about it. How about you rant and rave to your senator, your congressperson, your state representatives, somebody that can actually do something if they write you back. But point is that make the effort and using the knowledge to go forward. And so I think when you have someone from law enforcement, leadership or otherwise, to be able to articulate these things and explain things to the public, it goes a long way.
Absolutely. Good points by both of you. Michael saying he likes the ground roots of leadership style. You're talking about leading by example, Derrick. And both of them, I think they pretty much go hand in hand. Because when you're out there, ground roots, you're dealing with issues and problems and answering questions right there, one-on-one. And then so they see how you're leading by example anyway, because you're actually physically doing it. And like you said, Michael, it works better in departments where you can physically do that, as opposed to if you're in a larger agency, you more likely cannot do that because you still have administrative duties that you need to attend to as well. So you're not going to be able to know 18,000 of your officers or first responders that are under your command as well. So good points by both. Thank you. Yep. Dale Peters here. I know it's not what you guys are talking about, but I swear, Derrick.
I have signed, I'm not playing. I have signed autographs as Dr. Dre.
We talked about this. He looks and sounds like Dr. Dre. No, we talked about this over the phone before. I remember.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I've dealt with that before. Like, I've been like all kinds of athletes. I've been multiple Seahawks. I've been I don't know how I've been Jay-Z, but I've been Jay-Z. I remember the craziest thing. I know it's off topic. I walked into a cigar shop where you love cigars, Clee, and I walked into a cigar shop, and I'll never forget the guy's face and his emotions and how they were changing as I was walking in the door. And I walked in the door, and he was like, and I'm like, why is this man staring at me like that? And then he kind of like looked like this. I'm like, all right. And then I started walking closer, and he lit up again, and I'm like, what is going on? And then he goes, oh. I'm like, hey man, what's up? He was just like, well, when you walked in the door, I thought Dr. Dre is in my cigar shop. And then he said, then I was like, well, why would Dr. Dre be in my cigar shop in this little town on a Monday? But Dr. Dre's in my cigar shop. That's not Dr. Dre. And I was like, I saw his emotions just up and down. I'm like, sorry to disappoint you, but yeah, I've signed autographs. I've gotten free apple pies at McDonald's. Why do they give rich people free stuff? I don't know. But point is that yeah, man, Dr. Dre, I'll be your double next movie you're in.
Yeah, there you go. He already put it out there, and Dale just went on another comment. He said, "So if you're Dr. Dre, I guess that makes Michael Snoop because ain't nothing
but a G thing."
Hey, thank you, Dale, for tuning in, bro. he done told
got me telling stories and everything.
I know, he said, I saw the look on your face too, and I saw Dr. Dre. I remember you talking about that. That's good. So jumping back onto it, community engagement is one of the hot topics that we hear in our profession as first responders, and you hear it all over the news media. Community engagement. Well, what's the military going to do? What's law enforcement going to do? What's fire department going to do? You know, you got Shop with a Cop, you got National Night Out, you got Donuts with Dads, and all the other trends that go on, and it kind of gets, in my opinion, over commercialized. Where we're hitting out, we're just doing things, engaging with public events that we're creating to have town halls or forums in a more low-key kind of way, as opposed to realistically, I think through our basic duties, just doing what we do, we engage with the community so well, at least from the lower level on up. Whenever we stop out to go get a sandwich made at a local establishment while working, that's engaging with the community, because we're walking in, at least you should be walking in, saying hello to everyone, asking how the store owner's doing, how the clerk's doing, things like that, engaging with the kids that you see outside, at least speak to them, ask them how their day was, ask them what their name is, shake their hand if they're willing, and things like that. How important, again, I'm gonna go back with you, Michael, since Derrick had the first two, is in community engagement is involving with police leadership from your perspective and opinion?
I mean, really, it's the foundation of why we're here, to protect and serve. I mean, it starts off with that. If you weren't protecting the community and serving the community, what would you be here for? Well, yeah, you could say, well, I could be taking bad guys to jail or protecting the border, whatever you might want to call it. But at the end of the day, the community is our job.
Right.
It's something that you have to be involved in. And I'm with you. Sometimes the yearly events, the annual events, they get almost to like, okay, we got to do this again this year.
Yeah.
All right. In January, we're going to do this. In February, we're going to do that. And sometimes it gets kind of dry, but we still got it. We still have to have it. And where I think people are starting to get kind of like that maybe disappointment is because our staffing sucks. I mean, it is what it is. There's not enough officers to go around. I mean, if you have 100-man department and you only have 75 people, what do you expect? Something's going to get cut. That's going to be management by walking around. That's going to be leading by example, because now you have officers working double and triple shifts just to get the calls for service done. So all these community events, all the community engagement that we once had kind of goes on the back burner, not purposely, but because you don't have the people to spend on day watch to go to a ribbon cutting or to have donuts with dad. So community engagement is extremely important, but I think where we're going to continue to see a struggle is our staffing. So for people who are considering law enforcement, or they're like, man, I don't know if this is for me. I mean, you need to stick around, because we need every single person to be involved if we want to eventually accomplish the goals that we're here for. Because without people, literally, I don't care how great AI is. I don't care how many MacBooks I got, how many iPhones, Samsungs. Without people, you will never, ever accomplish your goals, especially with community engagement, because you can't send an AI to go talk to somebody. You can't. That's not how it goes. I mean, maybe you can craft a beautiful message on Facebook or LinkedIn saying, oh, guess what we did today? But getting out and engaging and talking to people and transferring your positive energy to them has to be done with real people. So without the staffing, it's tough to meet that. But I know, I mean, we know it's important. I mean, we've been doing all the different things, proactive policing, community policing. I'm sure there's a new term nowadays. There's always been that. How can we drive more into community? And I think a lot of that goes with our staffing levels. And until we can get those consistently optimal nationwide, we're not going to be able to completely fulfill our community engagement responsibilities.
Dale saying not yet, absolutely, but yeah, I agree. Staffing is an issue, and you just reminded me of one thing that someone said to me. I'm not going to say their name, but a lot of the events that we've had locally, nationally, all around with first responders, engaging in some of the underserved communities. We come out with the SWAT team comes with the helicopter. They come with the raid van. We set up a table, show all the equipment and all the other stuff, which is cool and it's fun and it's exciting to do. And it does build rapport and engagement. But then one of the community leaders actually came out and said, we appreciate you guys making the effort. We appreciate you guys, showing us this stuff, but we didn't ask for this. We don't want this. We actually just want, accountability. We just want to be, if we just want to, the main thing anyone wants as a human being is the respect. If I see an officer and I say hello, I want him to say hello back, or I want to understand again, like what Derrick was talking about previously. Okay, this happened. I know that kid that did it. I know that kid isn't the most upstanding citizen, but why did he have to go to the hospital for an arm injury, for a retail theft or something? I'm making this up as I go. But can you explain why it happened this way? And then you have those meetings or those conversations that are very important, and explaining why, because this happened, we had to do that. And it led to this, which we had to do that. And then the light bulb goes off like, that makes perfect sense. That's really what we want, is more like a controlled town hall conversation, or just engagement to have an explanation. And, looking from that point of view, that makes total sense. You guys could have actually done more and you didn't. So you actually showed restraint. And I was like, wow, yeah, that was a good conversation to have. Huge challenge. Dick Odom's on here. Huge challenge. Given our society, recruiting will be tough. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Derrick, I'm going to turn that question over to you as well.
My brother. Well, there's a few things I'd like to say about that. I'm going to try to keep it short, but so this is a lot of what I do in the community is, and that's what I'm just going to jump out there and say, so the Black Sanctuary is my company. My book is The Police and Me. The Police and Me has been doing outstanding across the country. A lot of police departments, community organizations, schools, parent groups have picked up this book. I've either been out to do readings myself, other officers are doing it. That's part of the ambassador part of it. And so with the ambassador campaign, what you're going to see is small businesses, business persons and companies, private citizens can either adopt a school or sponsor a police department, or police foundations, for instance, can get these books, have the officers hand out the books to the kids. Officers can come out and read to those kids as well.
Right.
That's the one city that has, I'm very proud to say, is where I did a book tour last year in Syracuse, New York. They bought, I think it's close to about, I'm just going to say about 2,000 books. And so, they're focused on the 5th grade. And so they handed out the books to the kids in the 5th grade and multiple schools there. And they're going out and having the officers interact and hand these books out. So the book in itself is educational, talking about what police are, who they are, what they do, and most importantly, how to interact with them safely. and having these types of things. And personally, I just got to tell you, when I see that and I see that connection happening over a children's book that I sat right here and wrote, I can't tell you what that makes, how that makes my heart feel. And that is not cliche. I'm literally filled with joy when I see those things. It's a beautiful thing. I've also experienced the low staffing part of it, Michael. I get it. So I remember, and this is, shout out to Chief Diaz, Adrian Diaz of Seattle PD. Seattle PD is going through it right now. They are down more than 700 officers.
Wow.
And and so last year, and I know Adrian, I know Chief Diaz. He and I we worked together closely for a while. When I was in law enforcement, we were doing some gang violence prevention work. We were flying back and forth to DC together. Great guy. All right. So I know, I know what he's about. But there was a day that I was doing a reading for some kids. I think it was like around 50 kids at I think it was Seattle. It was Seattle Library, and I asked Chief Diaz for an officer to stop by, and they were short. Right. And they're of course, down 700 officers. There's not a whole lot a whole lot of people you can let go of. And he wasn't able to do that. Now, did I fault him for that? Absolutely not. I understand. But the importance of people showing up. So one of my biggest law enforcement supporters has been the FBI. Although I'm focused on municipal policing, the FBI has been by far the most supportive agency overall. And they told me a long time ago, they said, Derrick, if you ever need anybody, if you ever wanted to invite us to an event that you're having, let us know. We'll be there. So I put them to the test. And so long story short, I reached out, and lo and behold, they had one of their folks come out, Haji Mana. And when I told them, and I told these kids, I said, and the parents, that I was like, hey, this is my friend Haji from the FBI. And just to hear, wow, and Haji came in there clean too. The brother was in his suit and everything, and handed out junior FBI badges and took pictures with the kids and stuff like that. That is a big deal. Because it's one thing when I'm out there and I'm talking to people and I'm having these conversations and I'm doing having the Q&As with adults, with kids, teenagers. But the question often is, Derrick, you're here. We're the police. You're not in law enforcement anymore. Like, where are they? And so it is important for law enforcement to show up, because, I'm not pulling them over, right? Like, and it's important for them to see. It's important for them to see these officers show up in that way. And I know they want to. But there is a situation with staffing. I think I would be more disappointed if there was a reluctance to want to connect. And I won't say that I've had that type of interaction where anyone's reluctant to want to do these types of things. But I think as we go forward, and the importance of doing this is to make sure that we are looking at the youngest folks. Like, it's hard to, persuade or dissuade people from, adults from thinking certain things, but the kids they don't ask me questions about race. All right. They don't ask me questions about anything like that. They ask me great questions like, why did the police kill people? What does it mean when someone fits the description? And I'm like, whoa, like, okay, let me figure out how to break this down. Those types of things are very important to be able to have this type of interaction with these things. And so I love that. And I hope we can continue to do more of that, and understanding, and it's hard to explain to the public, we're down staffing and things like that. They hear that in different ways, but when you can explain it to them in such a way, but still show up. And even those little things like you were talking about before, showing up when you see a kid on the street, you see someone there, speak, just speak, and yes. And I understand, like, it's not on you to take the entire law enforcement and put it on your shoulders. Nobody's telling you to do that, but understand, you do have that uniform. You are in that marked car. All right. You are wearing that badge, and, it does have the city's name that other people that the people that live in that city, they recognize that. And you are that ambassador. You got to show up. And, no matter what day you're having, like, hey, how you doing, young man, young lady, sir, ma'am, whoever, just a hello. Hey, have a great day. Everybody good? Just want to make sure little things like that go a long way.
Yep. Good summation. Yes. Thank you both. Thank you. Dale Peters says transparency. He was saying that in the midst as well. And Dick Odom says it's a tough one here. Yeah, absolutely. And leading into, a segue into that, I'm going to jump right into recruitment and retention then. As far as leadership, we're seeing, especially in 2020, you saw the quiet quitting. You saw no one wants to be a first responder, and militaries having a tough time getting recruits, law enforcement officers. I remember when I was applying, I was going up against 200, sometimes 300 applicants. Now you see the numbers for different agencies, and it's like 50, 25 agencies are giving out bonuses like, hey, come work here, and you're jumping from bonus to bonus. It has its perks and it has its downfalls as well. How do you think we as a law enforcement community can combat the retention problem and the recruiting problem for the generation coming in? This newer generation doesn't have the same mentality of service, I would say, without doing they think differently. They didn't grow up with G.I. Joe. They didn't grow up watching the cop shows like we did, or like, yeah, I want to grow up and I want to be just like, I don't know, MacGyver or something like that. I want to get into things and figure it out. So what would you say to them as far as from a leadership standpoint? What would you say to the leadership in trying to engage new recruits or to retain officers that can hang on for just a little while longer, for another 3 to 5 potentially? Derrick, I'll start with you.
I think that's definitely going to be a tough one. It's a difficult thing to do when I'll back up a little bit. I was invited to the Bellevue Police Foundation breakfast here in Bellevue, Washington. Just a couple weeks back, I was invited by former Deputy Mayor Jared Newenhouse. I was his guest there, and and I remember hearing during the presentation, one of the folks from recruiting was talking about that this is, they're doing better now. But one thing I didn't realize that he mentioned, and I haven't researched this, but they were talking about their first major dip that they saw in recruiting happened after Michael Brown was killed. And that was in 2014. And it's been, low. I think, again, when there's a certain type of mindset around police and policing and how people feel about it. And so, and I think and that's just one of the things that we do is until we start having better conversations and we start holding folks accountable. It's not that we don't hold, and when I say hold folks accountable, I'm talking about officers that that do not represent, the law enforcement in the way that they should. And let me make it clear to anybody that's listening: no good law enforcement officers like bad law enforcement folks.
Right.
Good cops do not like bad cops.
Right.
It is what it is. And just the way you dislike it, they probably dislike it more because it makes their job harder and it makes their job more dangerous. And so, so let me be clear on that. That said, when people see, for instance, and I hear justice, that cop got off. Technically, justice was served because based on the legal process, right? That person was investigated, charged, and went through a trial based on the evidence and etc. The person was acquitted. So justice was served. It didn't happen the way that you wanted it to happen. And so I think it's important to even be able to explain things like that, right? Like, hey, we want, we don't want, bad people in law enforcement. And so, but we are going through the process in the way that we can to try to weed them out. And it is hard to be able to do that. You got unions and everything else to deal with too. There's a lot there. But I think what the public wants to see, and the public, we're talking about, your recruiting ground.
Right.
You want people to have that type of, they want to feel that, this is something that is going to be a great profession, that people do, look up and respect police officers and that type of thing. I think a lot of that has gone away. And until we start, and that's what I'm hoping to be able to do as well, building these bridges by, trying to get people to understand a little bit more, not just law enforcement, but understanding more about the law and how it empowers you and how to use that to your advantage too, right? Like these are our rights, our constitutional rights, etc. These things, when you understand these things, I think, there's not just policing, but there's so many different things that you can get into. Once you become passionate about it, like I was when I was 19, and I did my first federal internship was with the United States courts. And I worked with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI and the DEA and the local police. Man, I was like, this is amazing. And so, and just to see that, and I think, that was a different time, right? That was in the 90s, right? 98. And so we're talking a different time. So now it's not like that. People are seeing, every time you turn around, it's a provocative headline. It's that type of thing. It's a different type of deal. And I think until we get to that point where we, law enforcement starts making more of an, I guess, thinking about how we educate our private citizens and how that stuff works, and also making clear, hey, we are trying to hold our officers accountable and kind of clearing that type of thing out. Then we'll start headed in the right direction when it comes to recruiting. That's my view on that.
Okay. All right. Good point. Thank you for clarifying that and explaining that as well. Michael, I'm going to shoot that same question to you. What are your thoughts?
I think we spend too much time externally recruiting versus internally training. And I say that to say is the best cheerleaders are the ones that are already on your team. And you can have great recruiters out there saying, oh, come work for us. You got their booth set up. They're dressed sharp. But really, that person that's working that shift, if they love their agency, they're going to recruit for you. And I think that a lot of people, especially millennials, and millennials are going to be over half the workforce in the next couple of years, if not already. They want more than just coming to work, getting use of force training. They want to come to work and get more than policy writing. They want to see how they can be developed and treated as people. And when they don't have that, what do you think they're going to say when they're at the ball game with their kid and someone says, oh, you work for Seattle PD. Tell me about it. What do you think they're going to say if they don't like the culture? And now all that money we're spending on recruiting, they're probably like, well, why would I go there? Their own officers hate working there. So to me, we have to go back to what are we doing for the staff that we already have? There's so many statistics I could throw out there. One being is that it's 3 times cheaper to train the people you have than to go recruit somebody else. Recruiting incentives to me are literally a waste of money. You know why? Because we're teaching people that it's okay to just chase the money. And then when they leave to the next agency, that's going to give them another $5,000. Then we're like, why did they leave? You know what I mean? I saw an article last year. I think it was Baltimore or DC, $25,000 recruitment bonus. I might go work there for a year for $25,000. I'm not a year and a day, whatever it takes. But then I'm gonna go to the next stage. I'm gonna go to Miami. Then I'm gonna go to LA. Then I'm gonna go to Houston. So we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot with all these incentives because who doesn't have an incentive? You know what I mean? And the ones that can't afford the incentives, now we're telling them, well, you get whoever's left over. So it's almost like the NIT with basketball, like with the college ball, where people are starting to, or NIL, whatever that
NIL,
is. NIL, where people are starting to transfer schools. We just saw that young lady. She's going to her 4th school in 4 years. Because she's chasing the money. And then we get mad at her because we're like, well, you're just chasing the dollars. Yeah, she has to feed the family, right? We get mad at these people for leaving, but we're incentivizing them to leave. You know what I mean? So same thing with us in law enforcement. We're incentivizing people to leave. And when they leave, we're just like, oh, they have no loyalty. That new chief that they're coming to is not saying that. Or that new sheriff, they're not like, you know what? I'm so mad you came here and left your old agency. So we got to get back to getting rid of incentives like that and taking that money and train the staff we have on board right now, because those that are there are the ones that need it. They deserve it. They've shown loyalty. They've been there through the trenches. They've been through bad leadership and still stayed there. So we have to go back to them and say, oh, wow, sorry, Dick's his number threw me off, 658 an hour. That's tough right there. That's definitely the 1990s. We definitely can't do that with millennials in 2024. I mean, you cannot do that. But I think a lot of people say that, oh, I want the money, I want the money, but they really don't. They really want to be happy in the job they're in. There's another number out there, it may have changed in the last couple of years, but it says the average person with a family of 4 only needs 60 grand a year to live. Now, obviously, they're not traveling, they're not doing all the other things, but to survive, that's what it says they need. So everybody has a certain number in their head that they need to live. And if you're hitting that, anything above that is just extra money that you don't really need. So what are you looking for? You're looking for culture. You're looking for family. You're looking for support from the leadership. You're looking for leading by example. We're looking for that. So to me, when it comes to recruitment and retention, I rather look at how to retain my staff and how to build them up, develop them as leaders, develop them as strong citizens of the community, develop them as cheerleaders so they can go out there and even when I'm not around, they can go brag like, you know what?
They're doing
Clee, you know, he's that new detective, but he's that guy. He's that guy that's out there. He's living it. So to me, retention is more important than recruiting because I'd rather keep the people I have because they already understand the culture and using that $5, $10, $50,000 to bring in trainers like Derrick so he can come teach them how to make that bridge versus going somewhere else. And now they just took a $5,000 incentive to just go to a bad culture. And now they're pissed off because they're like, oh, why am I here? Because you chased the money. You didn't chase the culture because you thought leaving was better. So to me, retention needs to be more, if we're spending our money on anything, it needs to be how to train the staff we already have. And they will naturally, organically recruit for us.
Right. I like that. I remember it's interesting you say that, and you hit a couple good points as well, because now within 2024, we're already in April 2024. And I remember when a lot of departments in 2020 and 2021 were giving out those decent, huge sign-on bonuses where it was starting to become a trend after trend after trend. And now you see officers, they reach their minimum, whether you have to do a minimum of 3 years, 5 years, whatever the minimum was. Let's just say it was 3 years for some. You're seeing the 3 years is up, and now most of them have already jumped and went to another one where they get another sign-on bonus, like you said, Michael, and they're doing whatever that minimum is as well to on to the next gig. So you see, you put them through the academy, you trained them, and now they're already gone, and now you have to refill those positions all over again. As opposed to, I went to another training a few years ago, and it opened my eyes up because just like you said, how much does it cost to hire, train, and get some a first responder up to where they're proficient? How long does it take for them to get to be proficient? We all said about 3 to 5 years to where you start coming into your own, where you start feeling comfortable and things like that. So within those 3 to 5 years, the very first year, the company's taking a loss anyway, putting them through the academy, getting them gear, getting them the training just so they can start. And then to get to them to where they're moving and they're firing on all cylinders, let's just say 3 to 5 years. So 5 years right there, you're digging into that person, and then they're if they don't like the culture, they don't like what's going on, they're taking that 3 to 5 years and going somewhere else, as opposed to someone that you've nurtured, you've trained, you've put them through different kinds of schooling, interview and interrogation, looking beyond the traffic stop. I'm sorry, I'm thinking law enforcement, but as first responders kind of training as well. and you develop them, they grow internally, and naturally they want to stay because, for one, they're having fun. For two, they're learning. They're getting everything that they want to get. So that was a good point that you reiterated the same point that I learned in that training. I was like, wow. How much does it cost to train someone from beginning to about 5 years, and how much does it cost to actually keep that person once they've developed into who they are? And then they say that person ends up paying for themselves through the life of that department that they're in. And I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You want to keep the guys, again, the best cheerleaders are the ones that are hollering from playing the game.
They're the ones that are just out there promoting your brand. They have all the patches on. They have their own challenge coin. They do everything. And Clee, it's crazy because I've seen people that are passionate about their agency, and I see them go out there. They're not recruiters. They just go talk about where they're working at because they're happy in the culture. Let's say, and I'll let you go to the next question in a second. Let's say $5,000. Okay. How many trainings or how many officers can you train internally in a year? Your average class is what? 500 for registration? Maybe if they travel another 500 to 600. So you can train your 5 officers, and if they know that training is coming, do you think they're going to leave? They're not going to leave if they know they have a training coming up. So you retain them by showing them and giving them hope that they're going to get developed even more. If they know they're going to one of Derrick's classes in October, they're going to like, you know what? We're going to stick around a little bit longer, even if we've been thinking about going somewhere else, because now we know we have something coming. So that money can be repurposed in different ways. And don't trust me, the business office people, if that's not how it works, in my head, it's that simple, but it's probably a little different on how it works in reality. But if you could move the money that easily, let's spend $5,000 on the officers you have, and then keep them, retain them, and train them, and give them hope and aspiration on what they can do internally.
Yep. Just like dangling the fruit right in front of them. Yep. Shayla says, spend the money in creating the culture that makes people want to stay. Growth opportunities, current policies and processes, et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely. Thank you, Shayla, for
I got to tell you.
Yep. Go ahead.
I have to say real quick on that, because this is really big as well. I experienced that directly when I had a boss that was very supportive of a lot. And I'm probably one of the reasons I'm even here right now. Being able to do the things that I do is because of him. He always listened to me. He heard me out. He helped me with my growth, and he would always want to make sure I had a plan. Big shout out to his name was Steve McWilliams, and he would kind of sit back and think about it. And Derrick, did you think about this? And I'm like, consider this. Okay, all right. Do you need any help? No, I got it, Steve. All right, you let me know. And he would let me go, right? And I can't tell you how many of those conversations we had. When he retired, and the person that was promoted into that position was horrible. I'll leave that person nameless, and I couldn't wait to leave. And so that it was a night and day extreme difference in their management styles. And the opportunity was, hey, because everything that I was doing, I was trying to make my department better, right? It was literally like, hey, you want to go do this external training? Great. Make sure you come back and teach everyone else. That was his thing. It was not like that with the new boss. And I couldn't wait to get up out of there. And so it's that big of a deal. So yeah, Michael, you hit that head on. Both of you guys hit it head on with having being able to train people like that, because and look, not to pat myself on the back, but I mean, I was doing a lot at that point. Like, to replace me at that point, like it was a lot to do that, right? And so again, you guys hit the point on the nail on the head there. That's big. It's absolutely a big deal.
Yeah. Thank you guys both. Absolutely. Big, huge topic. Wonderful answers and developing our own, as opposed to trying to pay the recruit just to pay again and continue to start that cycle. Absolutely. We'll get it done. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I apologize for the graphics. Those are out of my control. The fireworks and the thumbs up, that is what StreamYard likes to do.
That's one of their incentives. So if you guys are seeing that, you talk to StreamYard, don't talk to me.
That's all
But
good.
I don't want to monopolize you guys' time too much, but we're having a great conversation.
Man, go ahead.
Well, I want to lead into another major question that's been kind of on the forefront, at least what I'm seeing with guys that either I'm working with or I'm hearing the buzz from guys that are in the community. You know, first responders and law enforcement, the culture is always changing, and like first responders, we hate change until we change, and then we love the change that happened, and then we hate the next change, if that makes sense. I remember I give the example all the time. I started back when we actually wrote out on carbon paper for traffic accidents. And I remember you got the incident number. I had a system. When I hear the accident come in, before I got out the car on my computer, I would hit start. So that way it would generate an incident number as I go up and make contact. By the time I get everyone's information, I got an incident number because that's the first thing it asks for: driver's license, registration, insurance, all information, phone numbers. I knew what each box was. I could go through it within 5 minutes. I used to pride myself on having everything done. And then we went to a digital system. And I was one of the last ones to want to change over. I was giving out carbon paper, writing it by hand, giving out citations if needed, writing them by hand, or warnings, writing them by hand. And I had it down to such a good system that I was used to it. I got it done rather quickly, in my opinion. Then we went to the scanners, and I was against it. I'm like, man, I got to learn a whole new system. I got to learn. It wasn't user friendly at the time until you got to understand how the system worked. And then when I was mad about it, I used to protest about it. I'm like, I'm not using this until the last carbon copy paper is used up. And we had like boxes of them. So I'm like, until they're used up, I'm not switching over. I was mandated. Me personally, I was mandated to stop using carbon paper and to switch over. So the first action I took after we switched over, what it took 10 minutes took a half hour. And I was sitting here, I didn't know how to do this. I was mad. And then after I learned the system, I was able to navigate through there even quicker than I was by doing it by hand. And now second day, if I had to do it by hand now, if I had to actually go back, I'd be so pissed off because I'm like, this doesn't work. I work for this agency. We're top notch and this isn't working. I say all that to say, buzzword is with AI. You kind of talked about it as well, Michael, earlier in the conversation. AI is not going to replace us as law enforcement, but it's also a tool. I just had on Eric Clegg, shout out to you, with Police AI, with writing reports, writing criminal complaints, writing search warrants, things along those lines, where you do a talk to text or whatever it may be, the system generates a report. You would have to review the report to show accuracy and truthfulness, but it actually can complete a report very quickly. There's a lot of positive, there's a lot of negatives, of course, with AI, period. And everyone said the machines will rise. We all saw Terminator. We all saw the Matrix, all that, and those things. But our society is moving toward an AI. You see it all over social media. People have AI pictures everywhere. What are you guys thinking? And as a police culture, I'll lead with you, Michael, on this one. As far as leadership and honing in on AI and funneling it down through their agency, do you think a lot of positive or negatives? Is this something that you're hearing about when you're going internationally speaking in different countries and things like that? Can you share with us some of your experiences or your thoughts?
Yeah, it's actually quite impressive. I was speaking in Dubai last year at the World Police Summit, and a lot of their conference outside of officer wellness had a lot to do with technology and AI. And some of the things that they were showing, it was amazing. I remember they were able to take an iPad and they were able to put it up to like some sign. And it was like you were able to pull the website just by pulling it up to the sign, like scanning it, kind of like a QR code. Yes. But it was like the logo, like it said black and blue. You put your iPad up to black and blue and it'll go right to the website. Or whatever you have digitally on there. So the things I've seen with AI, tech, drones, I think there is a place in law enforcement, especially when it comes to increasing the efficiency on things like report writing, because I don't know how you guys have been, but I've seen some really bad reports in my time. And I know sometimes I've written some bad reports and AI could have probably helped out. A lot of people. We've seen cases thrown out because bad report writing. So if we're talking about AI in a sense of report writing and maybe different tech like speeding or whatever else the tech would be used for, cameras, whatever, I think it makes sense. Obviously, facial recognition is something big. I'm sure.
Right.
I mean, just our phones alone. I go and I'm gonna skip the phones. I'm gonna say when I go through global entry at the airport, all I do, I come through immigration, coming back from out from another country. I scan my face, half a second, I get up to customs. They say, "You're Michael," yes, and I walk through. That's AI. That's technology to our advantage. So I think, and when I say that, that's law enforcement too, because obviously immigration, they want to make sure that the right people are coming in. Exactly. I think there is a place for it. And internationally, certain countries are ahead of us. And there's reasons why they're ahead of us, because there's some things that they can do without debate. They can set up things that are more intrusive over there than they can here, because we know people will complain, people will take things to court, people will say Big Brother for whatever reason, but then if someone breaks in their house, they're gonna say, "I wish Big Brother was here." So that's not here nor there. But regardless, yes, I there is a big push for AI type of technology, and I do believe like police AI companies like that, I think they are already in place for the right reasons. And regardless, they're not going to be replaced responding to a domestic violence call. They can't do that. But I think they will help you respond to more, because you'll spend less time on report writing.
Right.
So you can get to your next call.
Right. Good point. Good point. Showing that internationally. And I'm looking at Dale Peters' comment here, and it's kind of the devil's advocate, the other side of the coin as well. I know of an agency that is looking at an AI company to proactively review body cam footage for potential IA violations, use of force, professionalism, and so on and so on. That would be, unfortunately, that would be another caveat to that as well. We're under a microscope no matter what. So it's good to know. And thank you for sharing that comment, Dale, because it shows the other side of the coin, what can be done effectively and efficiently, and getting reports done very quickly and professionally. Also, on the other hand of that, you can kind of quote unquote shoot yourself in the foot for having when your body cam uploads, then it can automatically go through an AI system and bam, caught you. Hey, you were at 21st and 3rd in Main Street, and you cussed out somebody for parking 13 inches away from the curb, and that's unprofessional of an officer, or unprofessional of one of our first responders here, is what I'm trying to say, for this agency. However, this is extreme, but certain individuals only respond to certain kind of languages as well. So therefore, what could be taken as disrespect in one way is actually a way of communicating in another way as well. I know that's an extreme example, but yeah. Derrick, what do you think about AI in the future with first responders and law enforcement?
I am very careful about talking about AI. I live with a 21-year veteran of Microsoft, and so she has educated me on the benefits and the uses of AI when I was very resistant to it, and so like you, for a lot of reasons, I've always. First of all, I didn't even have social media until 2 years ago, right? That's how private I am. Okay, and so now it's something that it's part of our everyday lives. I think to both of your points on what it is and how it can be used. As human beings, we're vital, right? The technology will help you with efficiency, but like Michael was saying, the AI is not going to be able to solve the domestic violence incident, and how that occurs.
Right.
But the other part of this too, while I think we are expressing our fears and concerns, there's also the piece of this is that there's a lot of legality that goes into all of these things. And I think there's going to be a lot of limitation for a long time in what we're talking about as far as the big brother aspect of it. Can they use it for monitoring? Yes. But when it comes down to the application of law, there is a lot of legislation that would have to be written, and a lot of evaluating and amending, and the amendments that would come from that, different types of case law that's going to be derived from that type of thing. That's going to evolve for a long time. And but I do see it being helpful now. I've always enjoyed writing. They used to use my reports as examples of how to write. So, but that's not. But again, like you don't have to do that anymore. You have these different applications and there's AI and everything. Like I opened up Microsoft Word the other day to start working on something, and it's like, boop, they got this little AI assistant. I'm like, where did that come from? And so it's there now. I think it's really, but it's something that we have to adapt to. When I pledged my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, we used to say, Michael
had to say the whole thing. Had to say the entire thing. Didn't even say the acronym. He didn't say they incorporate it. And he said they incorporate it.
I had to put it out there.
You did. You did.
For those who don't know, you were actively listening. Thank you, sir. And and so, but we used to say, the only thing in the universe that remains the same is change. Those who can adapt, persevere. Those who cannot merely fade away. And that's something that has always stuck with me. Even throughout my career, like change is going to happen, and so it's one of those things that we have to be able to adapt to. That's something that, and I think when you are resistant to it, I think that's the thing that, like you were talking about, Clea, it's just like, man, now all of a sudden something that takes you 5 minutes is taking you 15. That's part of it. But, all of it, some of it is that learning curve. And that's one place where law enforcement tends to be very slow, because it's like one of those big ships that are trying to turn, that's law enforcement, right? Like law enforcement will see the right way to get something done, but they're like, well, let's see how long we can ride this out for a little bit, let's, before we, make any changes. And the change is coming, man, and a lot of times, it's much easier to adapt to get these things going. And again, how is that going to, I think, especially when it comes to law enforcement and we think about AI, how is it going to serve the people better? And I think that's one of the things that we can look at, like, hey, if you can get the report written faster or more efficiently, that type of thing, just nothing's getting tossed out of court. And I'm pretty sure no DA or U.S. attorney wants to see that, right? Like things getting tossed out because of poor writing or poor documentation. Those types of things I think are very important. So yeah.
Those are some of the pros. Absolutely. Some of the things that they were saying with AI, it's good to have so that way you can get your reports done a lot faster, so you can get back out on the road or handle calls a lot faster. Also, so that they are more professional and things don't get tossed out, so you're not spending more time in court hearings and suppressions and things like that. It's actually, you can read it and it gets pushed through, and it brings back, it saves in overtime theoretically, so that way you can head back out on the street. Dale Peters had another second part of that comment there that he just posted here, saying, yes, someone spoke to their agency head about AI not being able to pick up context or nuances of spoken conversations. Things to think about with AI as well. That's going to be something to think about and discuss in the forefront, because it's not like it's slowing down. And I know they have different advancements for AI that they're ready to bring out now. That they're I know they're probably frustrated on things that they're holding back on with AI as well. So there's going to be a lot of discussions. It's going to some of the good, some of the pros and cons. It's good. Thank you for pointing that out, Dale. Thank you, Michael, and Derrick as well on contributing to that conversation. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes and how long it's going to take for it to go one way or another as well.
The legality aspect of it, I think, is going to take some time. I mean, I think that's the biggest concern that most people are going to have. Like, how is it going to affect me in my life or my case or that type of thing? When you start, when I start thinking about the legislation that's going to have to go into that, and then not even just the legislation, the policies that are going to evolve from that too, right? And so, and then once the policies come, then you got to think about the training and then the actual application of it. Like, that's going to be pretty challenging, I should say. Yeah.
Well, let me ask Michael, since you've been overseas and you see other departments or agencies using it, what are some of the challenges that they face that you see?
I think it's just getting everything to roll out. Like Dale mentioned about the nuances, conversations. Derrick mentioned about the legalities of some. I think the technology is there. I think there's levels and layers that are being released slowly but surely. Because it's like cell phones. There's cell phones have been out longer than what we've had as consumers.
Right.
However, you couldn't just give everybody a cell phone out the gate because people can't handle that. I mean, iPhone technology. Even when people are like, oh, they can see me on camera. We've been getting watched on cameras for 3 or 4 decades. It's just now the consumers are starting to see it now because like, oh, we can have a Ring camera. Well, the Ring cameras have been around. We just didn't really know it before. So even across seas, that's kind of what they're facing, the ability to implement it, because some places just don't have the legality nor probably the funds, because at the end of the day, you have to have certain things to run an AI. For example, the internet. You have to have that kind of connectivity. So if you're in a rural area anywhere, you may not have that feature that you're looking for.
Right.
So from what my short experience with that in other parts of the world is, it's just kind of rolling it out effectively to where people know how to use it and they're able to use it correctly.
Good point. Yeah. I think again, good point on the Ring cameras and the iPhones as well. That is very true. We got dumped with that back in, let's say 95. If we got dumped with the iPhone and the technology for that back in 95, well, for one, I'm glad because I was still in high school in 95. So I at least
all types of trouble.
Things that it's a memory. It's a faded memory too. So
you may not be a detective right now. Hey, Derrick, they had to hide those tapes. Boy, they had to take them off the line. Take them. Hey, VHS. We're gonna delete this right now.
Exactly. You will not see Clee Tillman on the Freak Nick movie documentary that just came out.
Nope.
How about here comes Uncle Luke and Clee back again?
Yeah,
don't stop, get it.
Yep, that'd be Clee out there right now in high school in the 90s.
I will not confirm or deny. I'm just gonna move on.
Oh man.
But no, those are the highlights and things that I wanted to talk about. We had a great conversation, and I appreciate both of you. Got to meet you, Michael, in person. Derrick, we text or talk often via different platforms.
I keep forgetting that we haven't talked, like that we haven't actually met sometimes.
Yeah,
that's how often we connect, man. So you're right. I forgot that when you first said that. I was like, man,
I need to find some work up in Washington. So
come on.
Yeah,
come on.
Clee, hey, don't you better tell Clee. I'll find it. I'm searching. I go hunt it out.
Because the first time he was on the platform, we didn't know each other. We didn't see each other physically. And then all of a sudden, what it was, like a month later, he said, hey, I'm doing this training up in Philly, about an hour and a half away from you. I'm like, oh, he can't come an hour and a half away and me not be able to attend the training. How's that? That makes me look bad. So then he put on a great training too, by the way. Not only that, it was good, great training, some great connections came from it. And I mean, it was nice to meet face to face as well. So it turned out to be a very good day.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working on coming back to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area.
All right. See, he's gonna put me on the spot again. That way, he's gonna call me out and be like, "Yeah, Clee, you didn't talk about that promotion. You ain't in the streets, Clee. You ain't."
I'm gonna drive around first. I'm gonna drive around your area to make sure. I'm gonna say, "Hey, you working today? All right, give me a second. I'm driving around the city to see if I see you."
Well, Michael, don't come out here without reaching out, man.
Oh no, don't worry. Hey, you better. Now I have another thing on my map, Washington State, to start pushing.
There you go.
Oh.
Come on.
Got Chief Daryl Lowe, former guest on the show, Derrick Dotson, INC. Holla at your boy. There you go. Dale Peters, thank you for chiming in. Great convo, guys. So just chill to the. You guys are funny, man.
West Coast, man. He can't get off the West Coast, man. You know this all California right there. You know Dale can't help himself.
I know he can't. He's bringing all his DJ songs out and putting them on here in the comments. I see you. I see what you're doing, Dale. I see what you're doing. Hey, thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. But before we go, there might have been a topic where I might have jogged you guys' memory, or I may have forgot to ask a question on something that you guys wanted to cover. And Derrick, I'm gonna lead with you. Is there anything else that you would like to put out there right now? The floor is yours.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And I finally got a chance to hang out with Michael. Heard a lot, I've read a lot about you, so this is really cool to be able to connect with you. And shouts to everybody that participated in the conversation. I just saw my brother Chief Lowe just responded, and Dale and Tom, and it's been really cool. Thanks for being a part of this. Going forward, I'm really happy to be able to share the things that I'm able to share with people that, from my life and, from law enforcement and in my personal life, that I'm able to share with, private citizens everywhere across this country to help, not only just keep people safe, but also continue to be the person that's helping, or one of the people at least that are helping build that bridge between communities and law enforcement. There's a lot of work that can be done, but I am very much optimistic about how it can be done and that it will be done well. Coming up, we have, like I said, the National Ambassador Campaign for my book, The Police and Me. Again, you'll be able to, private citizens, businesses, police foundations will be able to buy the book, for schools. And to be able to work with kids, police department, police officers will be able to come out and read with those kids. If you want me to be able to come out, whether, to your state or locally to a city here in Washington, to read to your kids, we can work that out. I have a lot of that coming up. You'll be seeing me at multiple libraries and bookstores and schools coming up. We're building out our schedule for the summer. And this is we got a lot coming up. We have another series that's coming up, a video series. Right now, you can find the first one we did on the Black Sanctuary YouTube channel. It's a law enforcement education series. We did that one. I haven't marketed it yet, but it's professionally done. It's very good for all private citizens. If you're trying to learn some of the things that you've heard about law enforcement but not really sure, if you're trying to get a little bit more knowledge about police interaction, it's a great place to go, and we have a lot more of that content coming up. There's so many things we got coming, but just stay tuned. And you can find me at The Black Sank, SANC, at The Black Sank on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Perfect. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, his website is scrolling below. Again, make sure you guys check him out. Make sure you guys get a copy of the book. Very wonderful book, very artistically done as well. The Police and Me. I got my copy. Make sure you guys get your copy as well. I got mine. It's available on Amazon as well. All right. Thank you, Derrick, for making yourself available. And again, blessing the show. You never fall short. I appreciate you as a friend. I appreciate you coming on here and providing some insight here in the first responder and law enforcement community.
You tell me where you need me, brother. I'm showing up.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And Michael, again, every time he's on here, he likes to call me out in a fun way, which is cool. I appreciate it. Keeps me on my toes. Again, I'm extending the same offer. There may have been a question I forgot to ask you, or I may have jogged your memory on a topic is something that you wanted to cover as well. Right now, I'm going to give you that opportunity. The floor is yours. As soon as my mouse will cooperate. There it is. The floor is yours.
Well, first and foremost, I appreciate every opportunity I get to work with you, Clee, and obviously you connecting to me to people like Derrick.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that brotherhood, that family that we are able to connect with podcasts like yours. And anytime these situations or chances arise, like I'm always excited because I know we're going to be able to share something with each other. And I know that I'm going to learn because I love listening, that is going to allow me to grow.
Mm-hmm.
With that, one thing that I try to talk about on every podcast, and I think we talked more about leadership versus the leader themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership starts with the person. And a lot of times we overthink the process because we want to be somebody we're not. We have to realize what kind of leader we are, and whatever kind of person that is, we have to grow to it. And nobody's going to help you get there. You have to go out there and grind to get better. You have to go out there and hustle to get better, because if you don't, you're never going to achieve who you are. One of the phrases that I started using recently was rise to your greatness. That's because everybody has a lot of potential in them, but they're just waiting for somebody to get them there. And that's for people of all levels of leadership. As a leader, you don't need a title. You just need one person following you. And trust me, everybody, I could probably say that with 99% confidence, everybody has someone following them. You deserve it. You deserve to give yourself the best chance opportunity to grow. And if you're not out there going after it each and every day, trying to get better, you're going to fall short. And if you want to create this environment of great leadership, great culture, great opportunities for the people around you, it starts with you as the person. If you don't understand that, you're always going to find yourself frustrated. So for me, going back to the person, the leader, is one of the things I love to talk about. And it's one of the things that I think really builds leadership as a whole. My man John Maxwell said it: everything rises and falls on leadership. But even before that, everything rises and falls on that leader's ability to lead. If you don't develop that, you're not going to get there. And I don't believe in people are born as leaders. Now, I believe people are born to learn in a certain way, but every single person, when you truly look at them, they've learned something. They may not tell you that they've taken this training or they had a great mentor in their life. They're just going to say, oh, I was born this. No, you were not. So what does that tell me? That you have to grow yourself every single day. If you want to see that growth, if you want to see that development, you have to build yourself within. Now, one of the things that I've been working on lately, and when I say lately, it's hot off the press. It's so much that it's still in development. I'm creating a company, an organization called Officer Wellness Group. Yes, it's that simple of a name. Because what I'm realizing as I talk to more agencies, more conferences, more associations, they're always looking for people that talk about wellness. In the Officer Wellness Group, we're not just going to talk about resiliency. We're going to have people that can talk about spiritual wellness, physical wellness, like my man Derrick was talking about earlier, financial wellness, which I got a guy, Lamonte Bynum, that's all over that right now. Every single level of wellness that sometimes we don't think about. I want to create a place, and I am creating a place that you can say, you know what, you click on the website, you go to trainers, and depends on what you're looking for, you're going to find it there. So keep an eye out for that. I'm hoping to launch that within the next 30 days. And now I should give myself a deadline. That's on me. But I should have said 6 months, but I played around and got excited. So it's 30 days. So I will have that website launched in the next 30 days. And my goal is to have a list of people that talk about wellness at different levels and also different disciplines, because police officers don't know what correctional officers go through. Correctional officers don't know what federal agents go through. So ideally, I want people in every subgroup to be able to hit those different levels of wellness. So when a conference calls or a police department calls or a sheriff's office, they can say, hey, Michael, or they can look at the website and say, hey, do you have anybody on financial wellness? My officers are really struggling. And it's going to be law enforcement officers teaching law enforcement officers. I'm not going to be bringing in people that's never been in law enforcement before, because how do you relate to that? Like when I speak from a law enforcement standpoint. And I think that's the best way to connect to some of the hard-headed people that we deal with as peers, because they check your they check your background. They're like, well, where have you been? Derrick, where have you been? Clee, where you been at? Michael, I don't know. 19 years, 20 years. Okay, all right. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. So that's my next step, is building the Officer Wellness Group to allow people to have that chance to connect with anybody in one spot.
I like it. I like it. Very good. Man, you guys both dropped a lot of thunder, Michael. I appreciate. I'm glad you gave yourself the 30 days, because now you put yourself on the time clock. So therefore, but I know you're a man of your word. I know you're down in the grind too. So you gave yourself that time crunch for a reason, and I get that. So you can go ahead and start making those moves. And I'm excited to watch it flourish and see where it goes and watching it take off. Absolutely.
Cleve, may I say that? I just wanted to follow up on that, Michael. That's outstanding. That is outstanding, brother. I'm going to support you on that. I love this. First of all, this is what I'm talking about. Like it's, when you're creating things and you're trying to create things for people, I love this type of energy to be around, other people that are creators. And one of the things that I think you said an incredibly amount of very important things that you said and things that were very impactful, Michael. But one of the things that also stood out is the fact that you're looking at other law enforcement officers to be the ones to teach. A lot of times, you have so many folks that, they think, well, this is all I can do. I was just a patrol officer or a corrections officer or that type of thing. And there's so many things that came out of that. Like, what did you learn? And what is that thing that you're passionate about that you can give back to other people, right? And that's what drives me, right? Like, I had a lot of great experiences in law enforcement. And at the same time, I had a lot of interesting things that happened in my personal life that be able to help me give back to the, to not just this local community, but to my country overall. And I think when you lean on that, you're going to find, I think just by doing that, Michael, I think you're going to find people that can say, hey, you know what? There is something I'm pretty good at, or this is something I can give back to people. And I commend you for that. And also just on the wellness aspect of it, Clee knows this about me. I am heavy into meditation. It's something that I do regularly, and it's something that I need. And it's almost something, but it's something I did not have when I was in law enforcement, and being in that environment where you are, you might be around a certain demographic that, where people are hostile and on a daily basis, or even not even just the people that you interact with, from through work, but I mean your co-workers, you can, all of that. And being able to, find a place and to know that someone's focused on bringing together that level of wellness is amazing. So I commend you on that. I'm glad you're pursuing that. If you need anything on that, please reach out to me. We're going to be in contact anyway. You ain't never going to be able to escape me now, brother. But,
I don't hide. Trust me, I don't hide.
But
I'm on these streets. Trust me, I'm on these streets.
unlike Clee. But I'm messing with you. We messing with you.
Hey, he got an office now. He got an office. He don't even got a window, probably. So you got a window?
No, I don't have a window. The only window I have is on the computer when I open up Windows.
We're gonna send you a plant. But no, man, no, but Michael, for real, that's good on you, brother. And if you need me for anything, or if there's any way I can help you, to any of the launch part of that platform, anybody that you're looking for, I'd love to participate in something like that.
Perfect, awesome.
Yeah, good point. I know, like you said, there's 99% sure that someone is following you. It led me to believe the Game of Thrones. I forget his name. The grandfather of the king, when the king was just a little boy. He said, someone who has to enter the room and say that they're or a king. When the king enters the room, he should not have to say he's the king. If you've developed yourself into the leader that you should be, you shouldn't have to say, I'm the leader, follow me. You're doing it again by example. And again, because your feet are on the ground, you're in the grassroots doing it. And people will naturally do it because, for one, you're going to get results. You're going to be charismatic in it because you're already in your self-actualized person. So that way you get the result. It just triggered all that. And again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Michael A. Laidler.com, his website scrolling below. His book, also Greatness Beyond the Badge, is available on Amazon. I got mine here. If you want to reach out to him, make sure that either you reach out to him directly here on the comments here or the websites, both of them. Both of them are dynamic. I'm glad to get you both in the same atmosphere. I knew this was going to create a wonderful circle of great conversation and great information being shared. Dick Odom right here, he's saying, enjoyed the episode. Oregon gotta go. Stay the course, press forward. Absolutely.
Thanks, Mr. Odom. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you guys just witnessed a tremendous episode of Black and Blue. This one made up for the episode that didn't happen last week. So therefore, I'm glad you guys tuned in. Make sure you guys tag, like, and share. I'm Coach Clem, your motivational speaker, empowerment coach,
author, your favorite baker's favorite baker, I bring to you Black and Blue. The podcast is just for you, where we humanize the badge. And when we do so, we go live with a first responder or law enforcement officer, whether they're rookie season or retiree. And we talk about their trainings, experiences, and their publications. And we have a lot of fun doing it. And most times I don't get called out like I did today, but I did today. And we take it all in stride because we're having fun and we're getting good information out there. Make sure you guys tag, like, and share, subscribe. We're going to continue on. Subscribe to these guys. They both have YouTube accounts. They both have podcasts and trainings going forward. They got a lot of good things, man. I'm serious when I say this. Make sure you guys check these two gentlemen out because they're doing wonderful things for the law enforcement and first responder community. Thank you guys for tuning in. All right.
Appreciate you, Clee.
See, Cleo the coldest. You're funny there, C. Rhodes. Thank you very much for tuning in. And you guys make sure you guys tune in next week. All right. And we're gonna leave you with a Sergeant Be Safe. So you guys, hey, Mike and Derrick, I got something for you. If you go and stick around for the end of this podcast, we'll have a brief conversation. I got something for you, but for the rest of you, here's Sergeant Be Safe.
Captain Chaos, did you mess up another report again?
Sorry, Sergeant Be Safe. I'll try to be more, careful.
What in the world was that? Whoa, look out the window, Captain Chaos. There's a real live superhero.
We have to meet them, Sergeant Be Safe. Let's go!
There's Super Crime Buster to the rescue.
Hey, there's Super Crime Buster! Woohoo! Hey, you're the greatest, Super Crime Buster. Yeah, we know Super Crime Buster's out there. We're actually on the way, but we keep getting phone calls. Excuse me, Super Crime Buster. I'm Sergeant Be Safe, and this is my partner, Captain Chaos. We'd like to thank you for your incredible bravery.
Yeah, you're amazing. We're big fans.
Wait, you are the police officers, but not the superheroes?
No, we're just ordinary officers doing our duty.
But we may not have superpowers, but we're heroes in our own way.
You're right! The heroes don't always wear capes or possess superhuman abilities. It's the everyday heroes like you who make a difference.
Thank you, Super Crime Buster, for that reminder. You are absolutely 100% correct. To all the first responders and law enforcement officers, take it from me and Captain Chaos. We applaud you. We know you do a thankless job and are highly needed. You are a superhero in your own right. Keep up the good work in these perilous times because you are needed. Wouldn't you agree, Kraken? And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
I'm not a bad cop.
I never once said you were. It would be real simple if the problem was bad cops. It ain't.